ikatoka kutoka kwa mkono wake upande wa kulia ikakuja ikaingia kwa mkono wa kushoto, ikapata kuingia katika hili gari ambalo huyu mtoto wetu alikuwa anaendesha.
We tried all we can to reach to the scene, and when we reached the scene we found that already 10 were confirmed dead, 6 female and 4 male.
Tumesikia sana, ajali imekuwa mbaya sana na ni kama tumepoteza kama familia, na ni juzi tumesika mwingine alikufa hapo Sondu ajali kama hiyo ya barabara.
As the festive season approaches, Kenyans have been urged to adhere strongly to traffic rules and avoid bribery to curb the rising number of road accidents. The National Council on the Administration of Justice emphasized that a multi-sectoral approach is crucial to enhancing road safety across the country. Speaking on the onset of the festive season, the justice system confirmed plans to deploy mobile traffic courts and set up roadblocks along major highways to deter reckless driving and ensure compliance with traffic regulations. The council also issued a stern warning against drunk driving, overspeeding, and other unsafe practices which have been linked to an increase in road-related fatalities during the holiday seasons. Authorities urged motorists to exercise caution, respect road signs, and prioritize the safety of themselves, passengers, and other road users.
To prioritize joint enforcement and visibility across the country, and especially in high-risk corridors, to handle traffic matters instantly during the festive season. What we want to assure Kenyans is we do not want to cut short their festivity. They will be handled expeditiously, and they will be able to proceed to their destinations. Those who will require legal representation will be accorded an opportunity and encouraged to reach out to their advocates within a reasonable time, and we will be sharing the links every day where the mobile traffic courts are operating, so that those who will be charged can quickly contact their lawyers and get online in those courts that are going to be handling these traffic offenses.
Religious leaders from Kisii County have strongly opposed the proposed bill aimed at regulating the operations of churches, calling for its complete withdrawal. Speaking on Monday through the umbrella organizations representing pastors and faith leaders, the clerics argued that the legislation would hinder church activities and infringe on the constitutional right to freedom of worship. The leaders further claimed that the current government came to power with the support of religious institutions, and any attempts to regulate or control faith-based organizations are unacceptable. They urged lawmakers to respect the autonomy of churches and prioritize collaboration with religious institutions rather than imposing restrictive measures that could disrupt spiritual activities.
According to us, we are doing very well in matters of ministry, and I'm persuaded in my heart that even the president is not aware of the details in the bill. Hiyo bili haijatengenezwa na watu ambao wanaelewa Mungu wa taifa la Kenya. Ni sisi kama wachungaji, we have the capacity to regulate ourselves, to manage our affairs.
Tungeomba kwanza kabla amchatuletea bili, tafadhali mjue kama ni nani katikati yenu ambaye anaongoza na nguvu za giza, kwa sababu kila mara kanisa inaingiliwa. Na hizo bili mnazotengeneza kwetu wakati mwingine zinakuja zinapotea. Ni kwamba kuna mahali mmeruhusu nguvu za giza kuongoza, maybe mawaziri ama wabunge wetu.
Serikali kitu ingefanya, ikiona inataka kuingilia kanisa, ingetupatia mandate, so we can follow up to wapatie information, kwa sababu sisi ndio tuko ground, tuambie kwamba ni kanisa gani haifanyi vizuri ama ni kanisa gani inafanya vizuri, kwa sababu doctrine iko wazi katika Biblia. Na kama ni watu ambao wanaonekana kwamba hawafanyi vizuri, serikali chukua huyo mtu. Kama una uwezo wa kumstaki unaweza kumstaki, kama una uwezo wa kufanya kile unafanya, lakini usiingilie makanisa yote. Kuna watu wameseeka, Chokaya amekufa akiwa anahubiri injili.
Kiharu Member of Parliament Ndindi Nyoro has openly criticized President William Ruto's government over the recently established infrastructure fund, raising concerns about transparency, accountability, and the potential financial burden on Kenyan taxpayers. Addressing the media, Nyoro, who previously chaired the Budget and Appropriations Committee, warned that the current structure of the fund could lead to mismanagement of public resources and exacerbate national debt pressures if proper oversight mechanisms are not enforced. The MP's remarks mark a rare public rebuke of President Ruto's economic policies from within government-allied circles, signaling growing unease over the administration's approach to financing infrastructure projects. Nyoro urged the government to ensure robust governance frameworks are implemented to safeguard public funds and prevent inefficiencies in the execution of infrastructure projects, stressing that accountability must be central to the fund's operation.
The reason for today's engagement is basically because I am sure you have heard about something called infrastructure fund. You know, previously when the House was well constituted, we could have people speaking for government and we could have other voices being alternatives. But unfortunately, nowadays that is not present. And that is why I find if we let it be the way it is, then we'll have all ourselves to blame. And especially given the past experience that I have in terms of the other places I've been serving Kenyans, I feel obligated that it is important for leaders to engage in debate, for Kenyans to know the kind of decisions that are being taken, so that we can also add our voice as Kenyans. You know, sometimes economics words are jargonistic. So we may end up confusing Kenyans with big words, and especially government may end up doing that. It is important that we keep on breaking down to Kenyans so that Kenyans can understand the decisions that we are making as a country, and they can also give the alternative voices so that we can keep on refining the those that we have. Because I believe any leader, wherever they are, in the executive, in the national treasury, it doesn't mean that when you are occupy a position, you are bequeathed immediately with knowledge, with experience, to make absolutely good decisions. So that's the reason why a democratic country, you give your proposal, you give time for public participation, you listen to other voices, because those other voices are the voices of the people you are leading. And that is the reason why it is important for us to keep on doing this. Now, to go just to the point in terms of infrastructure fund, I am sure my brothers and sisters from the media, you have covered us politicians for quite a long time. And you definitely know that as the elections near, we morph, and especially politicians have the ability to again rejuvenate and come up with different slogans and such. And from where I start, the issue we are hearing about infrastructure fund and the grabuse about it is just a preparation of campaign launch, because we've been there before. I mean, we have had these kind of things, and I want to say that anyone who has the opportunity to be in government, a sitting government, has no luxury in promises and has no luxury in giving grandiose plans.
Now, President William Ruto has awarded environmental activist Truphena Muthoni the Head of State Commendation Medal and appointed her as an ambassador for Kenya's 15 billion tree planting campaign in recognition of her outstanding contributions to environmental conservation. The announcement came during a meeting at State House on Monday, shortly after Truphena completed a 72-hour tree-hugging challenge in Nyeri County, her second attempt to break the Guinness World Record. She had previously succeeded in a 48-hour tree-hugging effort. The head of state described her feat as a deeply symbolic gesture aimed at raising national and global awareness on environmental conservation and climate change. He lauded her courage, her fortitude, and exemplary leadership, highlighting her role in promoting environmental stewardship across Kenya. In addition to the Sea Medal, the head of state revealed that the Kenya Wildlife Service and the Kenya Tourism Board will sponsor a holiday experience for Trufena and her team. The Ministry of Environment, Climate Change and Forestry will also support her planned trip to Brazil, broadening her exposure to global conservation initiatives.
So, I had this trip for 72 hours.
Yes.
And how long can you go?
My dear.
Yes.
I do many things, but I don't want to try that one. That one I leave it to you. Okay. Me, my job will be to cheer you on. Yes, break the next record and the next record and support us with the matters environment and all the good things that you are doing.
Thank you.
Okay?
Yes.
Great. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Have a wonderful day.
You too.
And my very best wishes.
Yeah.
Good luck with all the good things you are doing.
Thank you.
Sawa sawa.
Indeed, a great team she has and a great job she did. We wish her all the best. Now, residents of Mukuru Kwanjenga have urged the government to publicly disclose designated areas for the ongoing affordable housing project, citing lack of transparency as a source of fear and confusion within the community. Speaking during a community meeting, the residents claimed that certain individuals and groups are exploiting the housing agenda to intimidate locals, even in areas not officially earmarked for development. They alleged that land grabbers are spreading misleading information and issuing threats, forcing some families to vacate their homes without formal notices. While expressing support for the affordable housing initiative, the residents emphasized the need for openness and public engagement. They called on authorities to make the project's maps and plans accessible and involve the community in decision-making processes to prevent misunderstandings and ensure orderly implementation.
Wamekuja hapa, tulisema ya kwamba ukiona mwenzako ananyolewa, tia yako nini? So sasa sisi hatunganyamaza kule kwa jenga, na nyinyi hapa mko na shida. Hii shida mko nayo, ninataka kuwaelezea. Sio shida kutoka kwa office of the president. Wale wenye wanajifanya hapa ati na macrown, ati wanakuja hapa kuwadanganya, ati sasa Mohamed, sijui mara sepu, sijui mara nini. Musifanye nini? Hakuna kufanya nini?
Wale wanatupiga vita. Vile mnenaji moja amesema, Mokorina amesema ya kwamba kuna watu wamekificha under affordable housing.
All right, 3 minutes to 7:30 a.m. Allow me to take a quick break at that point. But when we come back, we'll be coming back with a newspaper review. Remember, I hinted a bit earlier on some of the headline stories, including the Russia fake recruitment, which is still a story, as well as how do we keep safe on the roads this festive season. So that and much more coming right up after the break. Don't go too far. Drivers can adhere to these rules. At the same time, if you're a passenger in a PSV, public service vehicle, and in any slightest way you feel that the speed is just too high, or the driver is drunk, or there's just something wrong with the vehicle, you are able to feel it, you're able to point it out. You've got also a duty to ensure that you do not proceed with that journey. And that awareness as a passenger is also quite very critical, and especially in a vehicle that, is carrying a huge number of people. Let's talk about buses, 30 people, 40 people. Talk about matatus as well, the PSVs, which are carrying about 14 passengers or 11 passengers. You've got that collective responsibility that you're looking out, not just for yourself, but also for the other people around you. Now, sometimes you may be a very experienced driver, and on this occasion, you've decided to take a PSV to go home rather than drive yourself. So there are some of the things that you're able to know, you're able to notice, you're able to note down. It is important that you do speak out to ensure that if it is avoidable, then it can be avoided. Now, according to authorities, most accidents on the highways are caused by human error, drunk driving, reckless overtaking, speeding, and failure to observe traffic signs. Mechanical failure of vehicles has also been cited, with drivers of heavy trucks especially losing control on downhill sections because of brake failure. One of the other things is also on stalled vehicles. I'd give an example of the Nairobi-Nakuru highway because I use that a lot, as well as all the way to Eldoret. You know, it's such a narrow path, and it's such a narrow road for that matter. It has not been expanded yet, especially the Nairobi-Nakuru, you know, highway. It's quite narrow, and you know, you've got matatus, you've got personal vehicles, you've got buses, you have heavy trucks which are using the same route, and then you find that there are so many stalled trucks along the way. Just beside the way, and that's quite dangerous. It's quite dangerous because, you know, anything can happen on the roads, and the last thing you want is to ram your car into a stalled truck. So that is also one of the things that perhaps, you know, NTSA officials, traffic officers need to really be wary of and look out for. You know, let them go to petrol stations. You know, there's a reason why you've got a petrol station with huge spaces. We're able to, you know, park some of these trucks and let the drivers perhaps rest or sleep, and not just, you know, next to the roads, which is quite narrow. So that is also one of the things that has been pointed out by some of the road users. So that is the latest from the roads, you know, which reports of just worrying details. If in 72 hours, at least 28 people are dead, that's such a huge number with this festive season and the heavy traveling that is about to begin, because most companies will be closing the year, you know, this week. Most people will want to travel, whether it's to Mombasa, whether it's to Western Kenya, to the eastern part of the country, to Luo Nyanza. So there'll be so much heavy traffic along the road, but it's also important that we take that collective responsibility to ensure that we get to where we are going safely. What's the rush? I mean, if you want to make it to a 25th, you know, celebration, why not leave at 23rd and just get there, you know, early enough, rest, rather than try to leave on 25th and you're rushing to get there on 25th. It's really about timing, and let's just be very cautious along the road. So the latest crash keeps the spotlight on the safety of Kenyan roads, on which 4,680 people have died this year so far, and 5% increase from 4,400 last year. The rising number of deaths over the past week has prompted the formation of a multi-agency team to address the worrying trend, which has turned the festive mood to grief for many families. Yesterday, a crisis meeting was held in Nairobi under the umbrella of the National Council on the Administration of Justice to formulate measures to curb the increasing fatalities. I'll just take the measures one more time again so that you can get them clearly. There will be deployment of mobile courts to punish rogue motorists and curb dangerous driving. There will be extra roadblocks to intensify vehicle and motorbike inspection, crack down on motorbikes violating traffic laws, anti-graft officers along major highways to curb corruption, standby ambulances to offer quick responses to distress calls, public transport to violations through the toll-free number, which is 999, that is 999, or 911, or 112, as well as step up road safety public education campaigns. It is important that people understand the importance of adhering to traffic rules and regulations, and why it is important that this becomes your own personal collective responsibility. Now, also top of the page, learners open up on change of senior school pathways. Junior school graduates say their performance in exams whose results were released last week is informing their decisions to switch career choices. Officials say the students have a 2-week window to revise their selections ahead of grade 10 admissions next month. Now, I believe that one of the most, I'd say, hectic time of being a student is when it comes to you picking your career path. And everybody has gone through this because, you know, while you're in high school, at least the previously 844 system high school, and you're trying to choose what career to go to, it was such a hectic moment because, you know, you've got dreams, you want to do so many things, you're open to different pathways. And, you know, one of the things that I remember very keenly was we were going through a lot of guidance and counseling, and you weren't just picking, you know, a career once or a career choice once. You'll do it about 2 to 3 times just before you get your results, as well as after you get your results, because what you want before is different with what now after you've gotten your grades or your marks, what you want now to do after. And and what the marks can accommodate. So it can be such a stressful period for learners. And there's so much pressure around. They want to be like somebody. Their parents want them to be somebody. They themselves have a decision on what they want. They look at their peers and what their peers want. So they can make sometimes decisions that they do not want. And so it is important that they make informed choices and decisions guided by, career tutors, by parents, by teachers, just to help them understand. So KGSEA, that is Kenya Junior Secondary Education Assessment students or candidates, are now talking about why we are changing career pathways. Now, for thousands transitioning learners wish to change the career paths they initially chose for senior school. Last week's exam results was pivotal. The results give students an opportunity to consider and realign their academic paths, underscoring a key success of the competency-based education, where choices are guided by demonstrated aptitude rather than aspiration alone. So I'll repeat again just some of the things I talked about yesterday, because this was one of the stories on the headlines. There are three pathways. You've got STEM, science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. You've got social sciences. And then the third option you have is arts and sports sciences. Now, there are schools which will offer all three pathways, because this will depend on the capacity in terms of do they have proper facilities like laboratories? Do they have music studios? There are schools which offer music. Do they have that? You have got schools which may offer just two of the pathways, could be social science as well as just arts and sports science. And so really it will depend what school they'll go to and how many pathways it will offer. Now, it is important that for this particular learner, after they've received the results, how did they perform? Did they exceed expectation? Did they meet expectation, ME? Did they, score just above the expectation, AA? Or did they score below the expectation, BE? So those are how the exams are graded. So it's EE, exceed expectation, meet expectation, ME, there's AE, then there's, BE. So just depending on what the learner scored. And this will help them now identify what subjects did they score great in and what pathways do they want to take. You'll find learners who want to be, for example, journalists before they get their grades. After their grades, they've explored and they want to choose something different, perhaps go pursue law or go pursue something else. So it is important that they get enough guidance. And now CBC has allowed that for learners to be able to choose. CBE, competency-based education, has allowed that for learners to be able to change the career pathways, and they'll have that opportunity just before they get to schools come January 12th, 2026. So parents, guardians, be on the lookout for that and just help your learner get through this period. So those are some of the headlines on top of the Daily Nation, as well as the last moments of Jirongo. Veteran politician Cyrus Jirongo had dropped a friend at a Naivasha hotel before he died in a road accident at Karai area on his way back to Nairobi some minutes past 2 a.m. on Saturday. An attendant at a petrol station says the former MP drove into minutes to the accident, also offered fresh details into the tragedy. So this is a story that has been developing for the better part of the weekend as well as Monday. As just, questions continue to linger over what exactly happened to the former member of parliament in his final hours. Conflicting reports on was he on his way to, his Kakamega home, was he back in Nairobi, and now details have emerged that he'd actually dropped a friend off at Naivasha as he made his way back to Nairobi before the fatal head-on collision. But there was also the question on how did the head-on collision happen when, the bus in question, was also involved, and the driver also spoke about what exactly happened. So questions continue to linger over Jirongo's final hours after a fatal car crash. Now there's a critical timeline that the nation has been able to establish, that on Thursday evening at around 11 p.m., Jirongo is with his friend in Nairobi, and he's last seen at a popular restaurant in Karen at about 11 p.m. After 11 p.m., he leaves Nairobi in his white Mercedes-Benz, accompanied by a female friend, driving towards Naivasha. At about 1:30 a.m. Friday, A border rider in Naivasha says Jirongo stops near a hotel along the Nairobi-Nakuru highway where a woman alights from the front passenger seat. The two speak briefly before Jirongo drives off alone on his way back to Nairobi. Shortly afterwards, a motorist heading to Nairobi says he sees Jirongo parked by the roadside, having stopped briefly to answer to a call of nature before continuing his journey. Now, at about 2:15 a.m. on Friday, Jirongo drives into the East African Oil Gas petrol station in Karai. He enters from the opposite direction, passes the fuel pump without stopping, turns around, and rejoins the highway. Moments later, according to a petrol station attendant, Jirongo re-enters the highway in the wrong lane meant for incoming traffic. His Mercedes-Benz at around 2:30 a.m. collides head-on with a Climax company bus traveling from Nairobi towards Nakuru, and the car is dragged several meters from the point of impact. At about 2:37 a.m., the petrol station attendant alerts police officers, and they arrive fast, followed later by traffic police who document the scene and confirm Jirongo's identity. So perhaps the biggest takeaway is that, just after exiting the petrol station, he was on the wrong lane, the wrong side of the road, contrary to where he was supposed to be, that later led to the crash. Now let's switch to the Standard newspaper, which has for days now been following up on the story over the Russian recruitment, the fake Russian recruitment, where individuals believe they are, signing up for jobs to go work as, pig farm operators or farm operators, but on the contrary, they're actually being traded out to go to fight the Russian-Ukraine war. So agencies of slavery, that is the headline on the Standard newspaper this morning. As police work to dismantle a suspected multinational crime ring trafficking Kenyans to Russia to fight in the war against Ukraine, witness statements and evidence reviewed point to two major entities and several individuals involved in selling their fellow countrymen into this deadly trap. Statements from 22 suspects arrested in Athi River on September 24th reveal how desperate job seekers were enticed by dubious agents with promises of better opportunities abroad, only to realize after the arrest that they had been lured into an unimaginable and perilous situation. And that is a story that is on page 4 and 5 of the Standard newspaper. So let me try to paint a picture to you of just what exactly happened. So we've got one of the witnesses who was a bus conductor, had been doing the job for about 5 years. He's on social media, scrolling through, media and just trying to entertain himself. Comes across a post which is advertising Russia jobs. And they say, no, you don't need any qualifications. You don't need to be an engineer or something. All you just need is yourself and your passport and, medical, and then you're good to go. The fees are about 2,000 USD, that is US dollars. And so if you convert that, that comes to around 200,000 Kenyan shillings. That's the fee that they had to pay to the agency. So he gets into contact with the post and whoever had posted it, and they arrange for a meeting. Are they able to bargain and bring that, I'd say, agency fees down from 200 to 150,000 shillings? And he, works around getting the money because he believes going out there is going to be beneficial. There's so many perks. There's an initial bonus registration of about 2.1 million shillings when you get into, the Russian forces. Talk about monthly salaries. And then there's an additional bonus if you are injured. And so he gets a passport, their measurements are taken, their medicals are taken, and off they go to Russia. Unfortunately, upon reaching Russia, at the Russian airport, their passports are confiscated. About 12 hours later, they're deported and they're on their way back to Kenya. And then now details emerge that perhaps this was a long con all while. So there are those who went knowingly that they were going for, to participate in a war. And there are those now who had no clue. They just thought they were going for jobs like, pig farm operators, which they would have earned about 76,000 shillings. Packaging operators, they would have earned a basic salary of 78,000. production line operators, they would have earned about 61,000. Livestock workers earning 78,000 basic salary. Butchers earning 88,000 basic salary. And this is through a recruitment agency known as Talent Shepherd. Now, if you remember, Kenley, last week we spoke about the same recruitment agency, which is based in Kasarani, and ironically just opposite the Kasarani police station. And we talked about a man and a woman, a husband and a wife who were running this, and who the local daily had sought information from, and they ignored it and said, publish whatever it is that you want to publish. So this is a poster. If you can, I hope you can see your screen, because the poster is just on top of the page, which is a sample of the poster, and they are calling on people who are interested in working in Russia. All they need is a valid Kenyan passport, a certificate of good conduct, and specifically male, aged between 21 and 40 years of age. And the salary is enticing because you're thinking, if I can earn a basic salary of 88,000 Kenyan shillings every single month, something that I'm not able to perhaps earn in Kenya, then what do I have to lose? So they decide to go. Unfortunately, it's a long con. It's a long con, and that's the reality. And so about 22 people, or statements by 22 men arrested in Athi River helped to expose the deadly networks, with each of the recruits forced to pay 200,000 shillings to be trafficked to Russia and to Ukraine. So the Russia-Ukraine war is far from over, even as they continue to fight over key regions in Ukraine, which Russia already has control over. And the Ukraine's president, Volodymyr Zelensky, continues to seek a way out, even as he holds new talks with the U.S. envoys to end Ukraine war. Interestingly, just the other day, U.S. President Donald Trump said, if this is not stopped, then it is gearing up to a World War III. That's what he said. And, unfortunately, at the midst of it is innocent people, innocent children who are caught up in it, as well as innocent Kenyans who, are also caught up in it. And they go there, are training for 2 weeks, and you're thrown on the front line. Now, if you look at Kenya's military, and when you're signing up to fight for KDF, how long does the training take? At least 9 months, right? Within that 9 months is when they feel that they've properly equipped you with the skills to, become a soldier or become a military personnel. But for those that are heading to Russia, they got only 2 weeks, just 2 weeks, and then you're thrown on the front line. So it's such a big disparity. 9 months of training to be an officer in Kenya, and then you've got 2 weeks to go. The timeline may vary for different countries on how long they train their military personnel, but I can assure you no country trains military personnel in just 2 weeks and sends them off to a battle, not just a battle, but on the front line to fight a battle that is between two countries. So that is some of the details that have emerged from that top story. Suspects named recruiters behind Kenya-Russia. Now, there are a number of agencies, including the Talent Shepherd that have just said, as well as Shelete Global Face, which is located in Westlands, which have been fingered by some of these men. Agents duped and stole 1.5 million shillings pay of Kenyan forced to fight for Russia. So some of those that survived the ordeal and are back home and were hoping to get some money in their account, find their account empty. And they say Russian agents actually took the money, and they say, they were told, for you to get this money, you've been injured, there's a bonus, but for you to get it, then you have to convert yourself to become a Russian citizen. Changes the whole story. So trapped in Russia, just a highlight of one individual whose real name has not been revealed, but they've used an alias, that is Javan Oko. He was promised a monthly pay of 388,000 to go fight in Russia. And the period work was between May to August, that is 4 months. So total salary promised was 1.5 million shillings, which he has not accessed. Promised bonus was at 1.2 million shillings to be paid 2 weeks after deployment. That has also not been accessed. So I'm going to do the math with you. So 1.5 million shillings was to be the expected salary. 1.2 million shillings was to be deployed 2 weeks after he has gone, which he has also not managed to access. a promised injury compensation of 5.1 million shillings, which is also yet to access. And so as we speak, about 7.8 million shillings of his money is missing. And the bank account, he opened it on May 16th in St. Petersburg in Russia. The account was later blocked and funds withdrawn without his consent. His arm injured by a drone attack in Ukraine, and 2 of his fingers, the middle and the ring, remain numb. So far, as he got back to Kenya, he had to work on how to heal his arm. So he had surgery of about 156,000 shillings, raised partly by pawning family land title. That means you don't have the money, but you've got land, so you give the title deed to somebody to give you the money. In case of forfeiting, then they can remain with the land. So weekly therapy, he requires about 3,600 shillings. Occupational therapy requires about 14,000 shillings. Currently, he has debts of over 60,000 shillings and also has an outstanding bill at the Kenyatta National Hospital. So we raise the question, you are trying to get out of poverty, you are signed off to a deal you have no clue about, and then you come back home and you're in more debts and your family continues to sink in poverty. And that's the reality that is quite shocking. All right. Also on matters education, the standard as well talks about the KGC placement, senior school placement for Pioneer Learners Begin. That is for grade 10, as well as Just Matters Politics, Oburu, Ruto ODM Alliance set till 2027. You know, there's been a question on what exactly did Odinga say? Was it till 2027, or, you know, is it 2027 as well as after? So there's still conflicting views concerning where this deal will come to an end, despite the fact that Winnie Odinga says ODM will field a candidate in 2027. So is it till 2027, just before the polls, then ODM break away from UDA and, you know, the broad base ends at that? Or is it, you know, let's work together till 2027, till the elections, and then see where we will be? Will we win? Will we lose? So that's the political aspect of the broad-based government, which continues to hang in the balance of till for how long will they work together. So those are some of the stories on the newspapers this morning across the Standard as well as the Daily Nation concerning matters that are happening currently in Kenya. So we wrap it up at that point this morning. It is about 8:02 a.m. I hope you're duly informed on the latest making headlines across the newspapers. Thank you very much for watching. Coming up top of the hour is Your Faith with Reverend Felix Kavoy. So keep watching, don't go too far.